This would be part 2 of the lt230 Suzuki project. The engine that I plan on putting on this, the last video I made, I talked about needing to buy an engine. Well, I have this one, which is a China clone. It's a 250, 249.9 cc. Has, let's see what we got here. Has three yellow wires. I don't think you can see them. They're yellow. It means it's 3-phase. And then 2 wires from CDI for the CDI for the pickup coil. And then we got 5 2 ground gear indicator wires, so you can put like a little display on for different gears. This engine has 1 gear shifter for reverse and all the gears. Makes it easy. It's water cooled, so I will have to mount a radiator in here. This cover says CDI on it, and usually when you see a cover like this with CDI on the older bikes, it means that there's all kinds of advancement, and the CDI pickup is inside there usually. This is just a cover. I don't know why they put CDI on that cover, but the pickup is actually in the bottom. Electric start. I was saving this engine for, I have another bike, a 250X, that uses this engine, and this engine's kind of rare. You can get the piston and rings and gaskets on eBay, but nothing else. The clutch should be fine, easy to do. You could always buy just the clutch plates and replace them. I can't find the starter clutch for it in a complete package. I'd probably have to buy one that had the wrong amount of teeth on it and just use the internal guts of it. But I can't find a complete starter clutch. You can find the starter pretty easy. But other than that, it's pretty rare. So I was kind of saving it for the other one, so if it ever broke, I'd have another engine to put on it. But the 250X bike has, I have like 2 engines for it, and then a 300EX engine that's also kind of compatible with it. So eventually I could just fix an original Honda engine to put back on it if it, the Chinese engine breaks to where I can't fix it. So I'm going to put this engine on here. I'll have to make some mounts. Should fit right in there just fine. Got plenty of room for the radiator in the front here. The chain setup, the sprocket on this one's currently a 530, and this bike uses a 520. I'll probably might get a sprocket that fits this 520, or I could just throw a 50 chain on and it'll run over both sprockets. It's a little wide of a chain for the back one, but I never have any trouble with them with doing that setup. Or you use a 530 chain, which is pretty much the same thing as a 50 chain. I'm sure somebody will make a comment about that. I don't have any trouble mixing all 3 of the sprockets, 50 or 530 or 520. They all will run with a 530 or 50 chain. Other things with this, these tires, they will hold air for a while, a day or so. But as old as they are, you don't want to start riding on them, and then they'll just split wide open or something. And if I'm going to put next to a brand new engine on here, I need to buy new plastics, because the plastics for this are just trashed. And the front ones aren't too bad, but there's like layers and layers and layers of spray paint on them. The back ones are completely trashed. So if I'm going to go as far as to have a new body, and this engine has like 20 hours on it, I'm going to do some severe, once I have the engine mounts all made, I want to do some front end stuff. I'll probably strip it down, maybe sandblast it, or like wire wheel the frame and then paint it. Put it together and have it look really nice. Back to the tires. I bought like 2 E-ton, or traded actually for 2 E-ton 90 ATVs, and they came with some really nice tires. I actually got 3 sets of rears. They're like new. These are Duros, and if you're familiar with this type of tire, it has a real fine line right here when they're new, and there's some here that's getting to where they're not, that line isn't as visible, but they're all there. So these tires are like 90% tread. Now, they are little tires, compared to what goes on this bike, but I figure I put front and rear smaller ones. It should look alright. It won't have the ground clearance it originally did, but it'll at least have a consistent front to rear. I'm just going to go for like a low profile look. I'm going to plan on widening it out a little bit, so it'll just I'm going to try to go for a different view of, or how it looks, maybe a little sporty looking. Now the sprocket is huge on this one. The engine I'm putting on, from experience of it being on the other bike, of this type of engine being on the other bike, the gear ratio is really low coming out of this motor. The 4th gear is kind of high, but compared to the rest, I should say. But I can literally probably get away with a 32 sprocket on the back of this. This one here is like 39 or 40. So that'll, gain me some ground clearance with the smaller tires. The rear brake, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Might fix it. Might just take it off. I think I mentioned something about rear brakes in other videos. I'm not really too fond of them really with a manual shifting and downshift. And there are a lot of maintenance on the back of these with pads. With picking up gravels, and usually these have holes in them. The rotors usually have holes in them, and you're just putting pads on them like every other weekend. And I have a couple other bikes that just has front runners for front brakes, and everybody seems to do just fine on them. I see if he's going to go like 90 miles an hour on it or something, you probably want some back brakes, but these bikes usually just run around in a field, in the woods and stuff. The front end, these, I don't have the first video, I can't remember. The bottom A-arms are kind of trashed on this. The uppers are pretty decent. The shocks are like pogo sticks, usually with little shocks, like short shocks like these, 12 or around 12 inches. They don't really have a whole lot of dampening, which I don't understand why they can't make them so they have some dampening. They don't have a whole lot of travel, but as far as making them have some dampening, I don't understand why they can't ever seem to have it. So, not just for bolt pattern reasons to fit the smaller wheels, these bolt patterns have like 166 millimeter bolt pattern on the front, and I haven't seen anything that big in my life. But the tires have plugs in the sides. They're just not. I gotta throw them somewhere for some backup somewhere. But so I got these other hubs, disc brake, and pretty sure the brake calipers that's on the bike right now will bolt right up to these. So that hopefully shouldn't be an issue. And if I can figure out a way to make probably make some lower arms homemade. because the upper has a tapered stud, just like this hub does. So the top shouldn't be any trouble, but the bottom is not. The bottom's not going to line up, and it has a different type of ball joint where it sets in and has a set screw. So I'll have to make a new arms for the front, and with a different type of ball joint. There is some shocks on eBay that has little reservoirs on them. I think they're called like FYE or F something. It says like on the reservoir. I bought a set before, and they seem pretty decent. They probably won't last, as long as something name brand would, but I think they're like $80 for a pair. I'll probably put those on. They had awesome dampening on them, and they was really adjustable for how much strength you wanted them to have. And even whenever you really did torque down the tension on the spring, you still had dampening pretty good. So I think I'm going to get a set of those and put on. And then widening out the front is also part of what I'm trying to do here. And with these hubs I have, they're really long, which kind of like, it's not really a proper way to make a hub, but it'd be kind of like having wheel spacers on. These things are like next to new. The hubs that's on the bike are junk, or they have junk bearings in. I mean, it's nothing to change some bearings, but kind of looking at things I have an engine, I have some tires, some hubs, and then I kind of line things up. Hold on a minute. Got a tape measure here. If I run it along the edge of the tire, which is directly above the current ball joint that's on the upper, kind of run it down here. I got it fairly lined up, what this would look like if it was on the bike. It gives me about 3.5 inches on each side. So I guess I'm probably going to start working on the A-arms first, and the engine will fit. I know I can get it to go in there just fine. So I figure I'm going to work on the front end a little bit, start fabbing out some arms, and I'll post a video about that as part 3. And well, thanks for watching.